I'm Bianca.
And I'm SJ.
And this is ScreenGab, and today we're reviewing Wonder Woman. What did you think of it?
Well, I thought it was wonderful.
Oh my god. No. Yes! I liked it. I liked it
a lot. It's not perfect, but it's really good, and I was really nervous about what the quality was going to be like, both because it's a DC superhero movie and
yeah, you're of the two of us, you're the only one who's seen the other DC films.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I haven't seen them. I left the theater watching Wonder Woman, and I was like, I feel like I should have actually seen those now.
Not really missing that, but
just to have something to compare it to.
There was so much pressure on this as, like, the first female superhero movie lead...
Character?
Well, movie, but, like, feature film or whatever. Like, not like television movie. Like, it's a big deal, and if it didn't perform well, probably would have been an excuse for Hollywood to be like, that's why we never made these. Nobody wanted to see them.
No one wanted to see women being superheroes in the film. But
everybody did want to see it, and it was
sarcasm.
Good, and I was pleased. What was your favorite part? I want to do favorite first before we go through all the little things, because I want to emphasize how good of a movie it was. Like, I have a very clear favorite scene in my mind.
I don't know. I don't have a standout favorite.
Okay. Well, what did you just like about it in general?
I mean, the thing that's jumping to my mind is just when she was a kid. But I think that I'm really influenced by, like, the visual, like, the color. Like, that was the only, like, really bright time in the movie.
That's true.
So I like that.
It kind of got bleached when she went out into the world, which was kind of a good visual cue that she's leaving this paradise and going into a war. But
yeah, for sure. I love when, that is funny, when she gets to England and she's like, it's hideous.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, it's not for everyone.
Well, I do really like the beginning, but my favorite part is definitely when she goes out into no man's land. And well, it's so great. I love that scene, and I love how, like, I love her motivation. I feel like that's where she becomes Wonder Woman. Yeah. She inspires all these people, and I love that, like, all leading up to that, she keeps walking by these people that are suffering, and she's like, we have to do something, we have to help them. And all the guys keep saying, no, we can't help everyone. We gotta just keep going. No, we can't save everyone.
We have to do the strategic thing.
And she says,
whatever.
No, but that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. And it's like the first moment that she really, like, you know, is like, I'm not going to listen to you guys. I'm going to listen to myself, my convictions, and I'm going to do this thing that is good, helping other people. This is what I said I wanted to come here for. And then she goes, and it's awesome. She kicks butt. It's amazing. It's the best part.
See, I may be kind of awful. I was kind of on their side. I was just like, dude, like, just go. Please just go. I don't know why. Like, it was, like, making me anxious. Like, but then, obviously, it turned around, and she was being herself. She was doing what she wanted to do.
Yeah, she wouldn't have been true to herself if she was like, I'm just going to ignore these people who are telling me that they need help.
Yes. One thing about that scene that I was like, oh my gosh, it kind of reminds me of Captain America. It's like she's, like, blocking all the bullets expertly. But it's, like, just with, what are those called?
Braces? The bracers? I don't
bracelets?
know.
I wasn't sure.
No, they're called bracers in Skyrim, but I don't know what they're called. The wrist thingies.
Yes, the wrist thingies. I'm sorry, I don't know that. But she's, like, blocking them. But it's like she has all of these other parts of her body that, like, I mean, if multiple people are shooting at her, like, even if she's Wonder Woman, I was just like, dude, like, I mean, at least, like, a leg shot would happen. And so, like, that, honestly, that whole scene, that was all I was thinking. Which is probably awful, but that's all I was thinking. I was on Twitter earlier today, and I saw someone else describe that scene, and it was the same scene that you were talking about, and, like, what it meant to her, and, like, it just totally flew right over my head. I didn't think about it at all.
Okay, well, I loved it, and I actually found an interview where Patty Jenkins, the director, was talking about that scene, and she said it's her favorite, and that she had to fight for it the most, because all these, like, producers and executive whatevers were, like, they didn't get it when she was explaining it to them, and, like, why it was necessary, and why it was important and thematic and that theatrical, and that they were like, well, what is she just, like, fighting bullets? Like, we want her to go and fight, like, a bad guy, and why does she have to do this? And
well, no, but I think, though, that's a good lead up to her then fighting the bad guy, because if you just go, like, straight to that. Sorry, I'll let you finish your thought.
Well, no, I mean, I think it's my favorite part, and I'm glad it's there, and
That is interesting to know, though, that, like, she had to fight for that.
And then there was a separate article I read with the guy that did the score, and he was talking about how he had to compose the music for that scene, like, 5 times, because she kept sending it back, saying, it's not right, you really have to get this right. So I don't know, I think that makes me like it more. Like, I already liked that scene, but then knowing that they put so much work into making it happen, and then it's my favorite, it's like, yeah, they I don't know, I just appreciate things that people put a lot of work into.
Yeah.
And it turned out really awesome.
Awesome.
Can we make a side note about Patty Jenkins while we're talking about her?
Yes.
Did you know that she's sort of from Lawrence?
No.
She, like...
What do you mean, sorta?
Well, like, she grew up here, but she went to high school here, but not her senior year. Like, kindergarten through junior year.
That is unreal.
Yeah.
That's so weird. Okay, cool.
Claim to fame, we live in Lawrence, by the way. I loved the Amazons.
Me too.
Like, the whole beginning sequence, the first, like, 15 or 20 minutes when she's on Themyscira, and then that when she goes into No Man's Land and all of her fight scenes are, like, the reasons that I would go and watch it again for the third and fourth and fifth time.
Yeah. I liked her as a kid. I liked how she was just like her mom being like, "That's not going to be you who wields that sword." The little girl just like looks at it. She's just like,
she's like smirking. Like,
no, it's definitely going to be me. Especially because later it's like her mom's lying to her and telling her that the sword is the god killer, but it's really her. Like I was just like, okay, why are you trying to keep her from doing this when this is like destined?
Yeah.
Or at least that's the way it seemed portrayed to me in the film.
I thought like the second time I watched it, I was kind of scrutinizing Hippolyta's lines more because she is lying to her right after Diana leaves, and that other, I don't remember what her name is, but there's another Amazon that's like, there's so much that she doesn't know, and Hippolyta says the more she knows, the sooner he'll find her, being Ares, and so that's, I guess, the explanation, but it is kind of unsatisfying. Yeah. I will also say the second time I watched it, I liked Diana more and Steve Taylor less, or Trevor, or whatever his name is.
It's Trevor.
It's another Steve, okay? Who sacrifices himself in a plane crash, exactly like Captain America.
I was gonna say I was on Twitter.
Except not exactly because he doesn't go in the water, but basically exactly.
I was on Twitter and a person said that her mom started texting her and she was like, "Is Steve Trevor also Captain America?" And she's like, "No," and she was having to explain it. And even after like several back and forth, her mom was just like, "I still think he's Captain America." And it's like this is an entirely different like comic book series. Like,
but they are both like soldiers named Steve, played by actors named Chris.
Yes.
So it's understandable.
That's what I saw too.
But I mean, he's okay. I think the first time I watched it, I actually was like, no, when they had their little overnight stay together.
So I was that's like super PG for they had sex.
It is, but like she doesn't need him.
Honestly,
why would she even be interested in him other than just that he's like the first man that she's ever like really sort of met, and they're like
honestly that would be an interesting question to pose to the cast, the director, and the people who wrote it, because it was like, why did you feel compelled?
It's super conventional and expected, but like I was annoyed with it, especially because he doesn't really respect her. Like in my view, he like constantly is like underestimating her and like patronizing her and being like, oh yeah, I'll get you to Ares, wink wink, I don't think he's real, I think you're crazy, I'm just using you for my own gain. And even after they spend the night together, then one of their other friends is like, oh, you don't really believe all this or whatever, and he doesn't say anything, and I'm like, Steve, you either don't believe her,
and it's like pretty clear from the look on his face, he's like, well, I don't.
So I'm like, Diana,
I was gonna say, like, I didn't quite have the mind of like, she doesn't need him, but I was more just genuinely surprised. I just thought because of who she was, that was not gonna be a thing at all, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess it is.
Yeah, she has so many other, she's got a bigger thing that she's worried about right now.
Yeah. Whatever. I mean, like, it's fine for her to be curious about it and, like, interested and want to do it, but I was just, like, I just thought it was weird that it was, I mean, not, like, super bad. I'm just saying. I was genuinely surprised.
Well, it ends up being, like, really central to her arc that because that's her motivation at the end for being like, no, I do want to save humanity because of love. But does she need
to have sex with him to be in love with him?
No, and it doesn't have to be romantic love either. Like, it should have been enough motivation that he sacrifices himself and being like, that's love for people that he just showed, and for her to be like, okay, yes, humans are awful, but they're also good. Case in point, right here. Therefore,
Captain America, or whatever, whoever it is.
I mean, it just wasn't necessary for it to be romantic.
Yeah,
and I thought it sort of cheapened it. But I mean, like,
I would
it's definitely like a frustration. But like in general, it was like not as much of a frustration as it could have been, because it was more like PG, and so many other things about it were good, and so many things about her character were so good and so true.
Yeah, that
I'm willing to overlook it and see it another 6 times.
Cool. We should go together again sometime. I'd like to. I did want to say this was the action scene when she's like in the town thing, is that before or after they go into No Man's Land?
It's after.
That's after. Okay,
they cross the field and then they're in the town.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I just want to make sure.
And that's the first time that music theme comes up.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. But what I did want to say was like the way the action was shot specifically in that. Like, you could tell they put so much, like, effort into those scenes. Like, you know, she's, like, flipping and kicking people, and, like, it just, like, slows so you can properly see what she's doing, and, like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was essentially actually her, or, you know, stunt double, or, like, CGI or whatever, Diana. But, I believe it was Diana. But it was, yeah, I thought that was awesome. That's probably, of, like, what she did is what stuck out most to me, really strangely, as opposed to when she was in No Man's Land. But I do think, though, like, I think when Steve Trevor was, like, I mean, at, like, every juncture, like, when she's behaving a way she's not supposed to behave, I think it's kind of lighter than it would be if she were a human from Earth, or, you know, just from where he's from.
Because he's willing to, like, overlook more of her weirdness.
Yeah, like, to me, it's, like, it's a lot lighter because she's not from any sort of similar culture at all, and so it's funny, but I didn't really think about it as, like, he's, like, trying to calm her down and telling her to not make a scene. It's just like, dude, like, just let her be her. It's fine. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's fine for there to be, like, a culture clash, but, like, he doesn't believe her central, like, driving motivation of, like, I have to find Ares and kill him and end the war. And he's just like, okay, sure.
So yeah, so, like, why is he staying with her? Why is he keeping her around?
And then he's, like, stops her at the banquet thingy, dance, whatever.
Yeah.
And she's like, this is your
Yeah,
mom.
she was probably about to hack him up right there in front of everybody.
Yeah, which would have had some problems, but at the same
some
time,
consequences.
It's not like he was like, let's talk about this and let's find another way to catch him somewhere else other than in a room full of people. He's just like, no, stop, because I'm the man and I'm trying to tell you what to do.
Oh my god.
And she says, what I do is not up to you. And it's like a really great line. Speaking of the slow motion, though, it is great, I agree. And one of my friends said that he was annoyed that they, like, used slow motion too much, and I was like, whatever, it's awesome. Invalid opinion, but...
See, honestly, I felt like it kind of helped balance out a lot of the cut shots that they did in her action. I was ready for some, like, I can't remember this movie, but, you know, just people who are capable of doing, like, long action scenes where there's not as many cuts, which is very difficult. Like, I'm not saying it's easy to do and that everyone who's an actor who's in an action movie should do it, but it helped me because I was trying to, like, figure out what's going on, and there were so many things. It was just like she just hit somebody, cut, hit somebody, cut. She would, like, move and barely complete the action she was doing. It would, like, cut, and then it would, like, just cut. And so I liked having the slow motion because then I could see more of what she was doing. Yeah.
There were some really cool slow motion shots of the Amazons at the beginning too, though, when they were battling those German soldiers on the beach. Like when Hippolytus, like, she spins off her horse and she's got a sword in both hands and her gold cloak is, like, floating around her in a circle while she spins. It's amazing.
What scene is this?
Towards the beginning, when she's on the island and his plane crashes and
everything
she is
water, just gilded from the beginning of the movie. I can't
the battle
differentiate.
At the beginning with all the Amazons.
Oh.
On the beach.
Okay.
Where Antiope, like, goes shield and she goes and jumps off the shield and she's floating through the air and she shoots 3 guys at once.
Whatever. And they do use that shield thing again later.
Yeah. Also, the hairstyles on Themyscira are really great. There's a lot of cool braids, and I tried to wear, like, a sort of a replica of her fishtail braid at the beginning when I went to see the movie the first time, but I totally did not nail it. Because hers is it's really, like, poofy. And I'm not 100% sure what's going on because there's, like, a section at the top that's separate from the rest. I guess I'm doing a lot of hand gestures now that you guys can't see. But anyway, her hair looks great and cool.
I did just remember one other thing that I liked was... See, I need to look up montage. Because when I think of a montage, I think of, like, almost no dialogue, some kind of, like, upbeat music that shows, like, a bit of the main character failing, but then all of a sudden they're just getting better and better and better and better. And I was kind of, like, anticipating a Diana gets better and better scene like that, but it wasn't at all. Like, we see her when she's young, we see her when she's a teenager, we see her when she's an adult, and we've, like, established, like, Robin Wright's character and
Antiope.
Thank you. And Diana's mom,
Hippolyta.
Thank you. And so it seemed much more, like, natural flowing, like this is actual growth.
Yeah, it was like character development, not just, like, fight development.
Yes. And I really, really liked that a lot.
Agreed. And I liked the scene where she's, like, a teenager and she's, like, training one-on-one with Antiope. Like, that Antiope keeps telling her, you're stronger than you think you are. You have to stop holding back. You have to believe in yourself because She was like, I do, but she was clearly, like, holding back. Yeah.
I was gonna also say that my heart broke a little when some character says, like, she's the only child on the island, and I was like, get out. Like, I just was assuming there would be other, like, girls there, like, little girls, and she's the only one. I was like, well, no wonder she's so restless.
Yeah.
She's like, oh my gosh.
I mean, I think there's, like, different versions of her story, obviously, where that's not always the case, but...
In this version it was,
yeah.
And it was sad. I mean, you didn't really have too long to sit with it, but as still, I was like, that's really sad.
What I thought was more sad was when she's wanting to go with Steve, and she's, like, talking to her mom in front of all the senators, and she's like, it's our duty, as Amazons, this is our duty to protect the world, and her mom says, well, you are not an Amazon like us, and I forbid you to go, because I'm your queen. But, like, calling out her specifically for having this separate origin where she was supposedly made of clay, you know, that's not the real story. But that's...
Yeah. See, that's interesting, because when she said it, I thought that was supposed to be a direct implication of, like, where you're not who we tell you that you are, who you're going to be.
Oh.
Like that
well, either way,
no,
she's not really.
So that's interesting. I was just, like, I hadn't thought about it that way before, so that is kind of like a diss. Just like, you're clay. Yeah. You don't matter.
In the more recent, one of the most recent comic runs that they were pulling from partially for this movie, where she's a demigod, that's part of her backstory that, like, everybody else on the island that she grew up with, like, as sisters would be like, well, you're not really one of us, and they would call her clay as, like, an insult.
Also a given name. Yeah. I was going to say what made me sad, but I thought it was really poignant. I can't remember. It's something like when Diana decides to leave and...
Hippolyta.
Thank you.
You
understand that if you leave, you can't come back. And she says,
who will I be if I stay?
Yes. And then her mom says,
you have been my greatest love. Today you are my greatest sorrow.
That is so sad.
It is. It's like a slap in the face. Even though it's like...
I felt like it kind of meant both of just like this, like, I'm disappointed, but I also know you're going to do what you're going to do, and I love you, and I'm sad you're not going to be here.
I feel like you wouldn't say that if you were proud of her or glad that she was going, that you wouldn't be like, well, my last words to you are that you're my greatest sorrow. Like, that's just such a... I don't know. I thought it was...
They hugged, so I was perceived... I don't know. She's a conflicted lady.
I hope that in the sequel, they go back and... Because I feel like there's a lot left there to work
You understand you can never come back. Huge asterisk.
Well, and in the comic series, the more recent one, I should look up the official name, whatever. But anyway, she goes back and her mom has been turned into stone by Medusa, and she never gets to, like, reconcile with her, and it's, like, a really difficult thing. Also, I mean, either way, if she's there or not, it would be, I feel like, worth exploring to go back.
Okay, also, my other something I really liked was her theme.
Yes.
So much. Like, the movie ended, and it was just that theme, and I was like, yes! Hype music! And then, like, right after that theme, the actual theatrical score they had, I was like, oh my gosh! More hype music! Like, I was really, really pleased about that.
For that theme. Like, they actually had that song in Batman vs. Superman when she shows up to help them fight, and it was amazing. And I was, like, worried because they weren't putting it in all of the trailers for this movie, but I was like, this is so, like, iconic, like, you have to use this music. And so the first time that it showed up in the movie, the first time I saw it, I, like, grabbed my husband's hand. I was like, they put it in!
That's funny. Okay, but
they could have put it in more, I think. But I understand that they, like, waited until she had, like, a full-blown fight scene. That it was like, she's, you know, this is only music for when she's at her full powers, and she doesn't realize them for the first 2/3 or so.
I wanted to ask, because I feel like I saw you share something about what that instrument actually is.
Oh, it's like it's an electric cello.
Cha. Yes.
Which makes it even cooler. Etta Candy is on my good stuff list. The secretary that's like...
fisticuffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do women fight in this? Oh, fight? Oh, we use our principles. The bad thing about her, I mean, she was amazing. She was great. I loved her. I feel like she was underutilized, and I really wish that she had interacted with Diana more. Because even in the scenes where they're, like, on screen together, where she's, like, trying on all the clothes or something, Etta talks about her, like, in the third person, instead of, like, directly to her. And, I don't know, just even, like, the trying on the clothes, like, they didn't seem to be interacting. She was just there making funny comments, and I loved her, but I also wanted them to have a connection.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted Diana to have more connections with people in general throughout the film, besides just Steve, and especially with other women. Like, I guess she did specifically. I wanted her to have connections with other women. She grows up on this island with all women, but it doesn't
and then
really
it's like
show
this
her,
huge change. You would think she'd probably kind of, like, just gravitate more towards other women.
Well, yeah, so that's another thing. That's a separate thing I want to complain about is... Here's basically what I'm I'm saying is, this movie was great, especially given how worried I was that it was going to be awful, and it wasn't awful, but it also wasn't feminist. And I'm pleased to have this movie, but I want more. It's freaking bizarre that she would grow up on an island of only women doing everything and go out into the world of extreme patriarchy and not comment on how weird it is.
Oh,
Like,
specifically?
if you go to another culture, you would be like,
yeah,
that's weird. Why are you guys afraid of me as a woman being in this council room and you're all freaking out and you're all telling women they can't do things?
To me, it almost seems like it's one of those things where she doesn't get enough time to immerse to really contextualize. But I do understand, like, even things like, oh, don't go talk to that woman who has the baby, and it's like, it's my life, I will go talk to this woman on the street.
I wanted her to get to hold a baby at some point.
She was so delighted to see that baby. It's like, dude, let her do what she wants.
After she saved the village, she totally should have got to hold a baby in that celebration scene.
Right. I did also want to say, back to the island, when they capture Steve Trevor, and, like, all the women are just, like, short, like, yells, argument, what should we do with him? We should kill him. Like, da-da-da. And, like, you can see it on Steve's face. He's just like, whoa, like, I guess, like, this is just gonna happen. Like, he just, like, immediately is acquiesce the right word to whatever, because he's just like, okay, I guess this is happening. It was so interesting to just see women fight like that about something like that. To me, I was just like, oh, this is different, and I liked it.
I just wish that, like, so she doesn't really talk to Etta very much, and then they go off to the front, and there's no other women in their group, and I'm like, they totally could have been, like,
yeah.
I mean, and I understand that they wanted to have, like, broad appeal, and so they didn't want to make it a quote-unquote feminist movie, but I'm like, how can it not be? How? Well, you literally set your movie before suffrage, and then you don't have her talk about it at all. And, you know, it's not her goal. She's trying to end the war, but, like, it is. She's feminist. Yeah. You can't get away from it.
I think you could argue, though, that, like, maybe, because it is all men, but maybe they were incorporating other men of color.
They were,
to, like, have it be, like, an intersectional feminist thing. But that, you know, like, it was, like, you just expected for there to be more women other than women on the island.
I just think that, there should have been. There's no reason not to. And, I think there should be more. Speaking of the intersectional, like, it was, but, like, I've read some criticism today on Twitter of people saying, like, there should have been more women of color in it, that they didn't have speaking roles. Like, there's, like, one line on when they're on the Themyscira of the black woman that says, when they're just all saying, what should we do?
Wait, no, she had a really good line. It was like, but if we kill him, we won't know anything about where he came from, and we won't be able to be strategic in trying to fight against wherever he came from. No, that was cool. And then there was that woman who was like, they were all fighting. It was that, like, fight sequence. Oh, she's like standing above these other women. I don't know if she punches someone or whatever, but she's just like,
and they come behind her, and she's just like, nope.
Like, what's up?
But somebody was commenting that there's no, like, prominently featured Asian women that you, unless
I
you're, like,
noticed that immediately. It seemed like all of the women on the island were white or black.
Yeah.
I was like, I kept looking. I was like, this is so interesting. Like, why?
I mean, and I did really appreciate, you know, later on in the film when they have the little gang that goes to the front and they have, like, I don't know what ethnicity Samir was supposed to be, but he was talking about wanting to be an actor and being, like, the wrong color, quote unquote, and then the Native American that was like, oh yeah, my people had everything taken from them by his people, you know, Steve's, like, those were both really, really great themes to include, like, overlapping. Like, I liked when Samir tells Diana, like, we're all fighting our own battles just like you are, but I think it's appropriate to say, well, we appreciate this movie, we push for more. They could have done better, and I hope that the next movie does better.
There were a lot of things that I liked, though.
Okay. Well, I didn't really, like I said earlier, I'm swayed by bright colors that look happy. And most of this movie does not look like that. And so, like, it wasn't like I was super sad, but I was just kind of like, eh. In some instances, it does make things blend together where you wouldn't really want them to. Like, I think that making the audience disoriented by kind of blending things together can, you know, it can evoke a certain effect. But it just kind of seemed weird to me. Like, there were some fights that I was just like, what's going on?
I think that color-wise, the other DC movies, they are very dark, and this one is, like, lighter than them.
Yeah, but it's still kind of more in that
and
area.
Also, some of this one's color, after she's on the island, some of the brightest colors, there was a lot, like, orange, and then her fighting, but it's, like, it's the poison gas.
Oh.
But it's, like, it looks like a sunset, but it's poisonous gas. Chemical weapons.
Yeah, also that, I would think then also her costume, her outfit. That's like the other most colorful thing.
But they're not that bright.
Oh, I just like someone please like at me be really upset. I did not like her costume. I think my thing is, I understand that Wonder Woman has like a certain look typically about her, but I was just like, this is so, like, no one would go out and fight like this. No one would go out and fight like this. And so I didn't like that, but I mean,
I'm willing to like suspend my disbelief, especially since like she has these healing properties that they don't really get specific about, but
I would have appreciated them getting specific about it, because I didn't catch that when I was watching it.
Well, just when after the battle.
Oh wait, no, of course I caught that.
Doctor, like, takes off the wrap,
and she's totally fine. I like how she just says, "Oh, that's weird.
I'm more interested in finding out about the Steve guy." Said I saved his life.
Steve.
The thing I didn't like about her fighting outfit is that it has heels. No one's going to fight in heels, especially when the second time I watched it, I was looking very closely, and in the training, when she's on the island, she's wearing flats. Mm-hmm. She's wearing flat sandals. You don't train in flat sandals. Well, I mean, sandals aren't great to fight in anyway, probably. But anyway, you don't train in flats and then go wear heeled boot shin guard thingies. Mm-hmm. You can't walk in heels, much less fight, okay? But I did appreciate that her makeup was pretty minimal and her fingernails were really short and practical. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's good. Let's talk about Ares. He's kind of a big deal for the plot.
I thought he was kind of boring, and I don't know, like, their final fight scene was fine. I do have to say, when he kept, like, appearing and disappearing, that kind of creeped me out. Like, it made me, like, put my back into the back of my seat, because I was like, I don't want to be scared by this, please stop. But that was really the only compelling thing to me.
I liked that way of showing that he had powers better than him being, like, I don't know, zapping stuff, which he also did later, but that's okay, they were fighting by then.
They built up to it.
One of my husband's comments was that it was really dumb in the flashback where he's like telling his backstory and it's like, yeah, after I got knocked out of heaven, I was on Earth and then I decided a human sucked or whatever. But he's got the same mustache. Like, why would you? Like, I thought the mustache was part of like his like, I'm
disguise
Peter whatever, and this is my. See. But really, I'm Ares, and when I'm Ares, I look more like a god, and I don't have like a 70s mustache or a 1920s London mustache or whatever. I mean, it was like.
I feel like the main change between who he is pretending to be and who he actually is like he looks down and kind of like gives you some eyes through his helmet. And like that's the huge change.
He makes a helmet for himself.
Yeah. He's armored out.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, and that thing at the like I was shocked when she finally just blasts him into the ground and like the whole screen just goes white and I was like, what is happening? I felt so disoriented, and I actually thought though right after that, and she's like kind of like walking towards the camera, and she's like, "Yeah, I did it," and then there's just these other guys there, like is it like a tarmac or something? Yeah, just hiding under like barely there, like shack, like I don't even know what that is. I'm like, they would be dead.
I remember you laughing at that.
Dead. Like oh my god. I just don't think that they would be alive.
She is, Bianca. She directed all that energy just to her target.
And the whole screen turned white.
That was just a flash of light. She didn't want any collateral damage. She's very good.
Okay.
She's a true North hero.
Cool. What did you think of it? Like, because I feel like this bad guy is pushing forward the plot, but in this, like, I know it's gonna happen, and then I'm gonna reveal myself at the right time, whatever is sort of way. What do you think of that as like?
I don't know.
A device.
I actually was gonna say that I like the doctor, whatever her name was, the villain that was making the poison gas.
Yeah, she's a creep, man.
And then supposedly like Ares was giving her those ideas or whatever, but she was really like an interesting character. I thought like I would be interested to know more about her backstory, and I liked how much characterization she had, even though she didn't have that much screen time. The little things that you could assume about her, like, something happened to her face, and she's got this, like, porcelain fake cheek.
And
that makes a creepy noise.
Only cares about herself and, like, anyone who, like, facilitates what she's doing. Like, when she was testing on other people. It
seems like just Ludendorff is who she, like, sort of like a Bellatrix to his Voldemort or something.
Yeah, and just, like, lets them die, like, when they're, like, and they're, like, screaming, like, stop, and it's, like, it doesn't work the way that she wants it to, and she just, like, has no remorse. I feel like that's appropriate to the character, but it's just weird to see. It's also weird, those pills she gave. How did you say his name?
Ludendorff.
Yeah, I was like, dude, what?
Yeah, I was kind of expecting that to come back later, and I guess the point of that was just so that he put up a little bit of a fight with Diana, because otherwise she would have slaughtered him immediately if he was just a normal human.
Yeah.
Another thing I loved about Dr. What's-Her-Face, I like when they're at, like, the celebration, and Steve's trying to, like, sweet-talk her into giving up her information. I mean, he's just like, I'm just going to charm her, and she's going to tell me all about her weapons and where to get them. And he's really, like, overconfident and naive, and she's, like, looking at him really, like, suspiciously the whole time. And then she's like, I see that you're, like, distracted by this woman that just walked in. It's Diana, but I loved her in that scene, even though like she's supposed to be the bad guy or bad girl.
What did you love about
that? She was like not falling for his BS and then calling him on it.
Well, I think it kind of she was falling for it until she realized he was looking at somebody else.
I don't know if she was though. I feel like her eyebrows were very suspicious.
First, you could argue that her eyebrows are always suspicious. The scowl on that woman's face. I mean, not even the mask thing she has.
She could have been like, "Oh, you seem interested in my work, but I'm not going to tell you anything because I'm not a dummy." Like, he just assumed that she would... I don't know. I just didn't
It is kind of weird that he just assumed that would work, of all things. I would have not chosen, like, romance to, like, get information he wanted out of her. I would think that...
I just think Steve is not that great, and Diana could do way better.
Oh, getting called out. Man, when Steve steals her... when he steals her diary... Or not her diary, her journal that has all... Yeah. He gets that plane, takes it from a guy, flies off. I just thought he was gonna, like, bolt, turns around, shoots up the whole airfield, and, like, drops a bomb, like, in her lab. And I thought the bomb was gonna get him. Like, he like, exploded, and he was, like, in it. But he was fine, and I was like, wow, he really was, like, not leaving any stone unturned.
I guess that was supposed to be the right thing. I was kind of annoyed on second viewing because he's like, my mission was just to observe and report, but I couldn't do nothing, so I had to do something.
Yeah,
I'm a guy and I'm a hero.
Oh my god.
Well, you might have caused more problems than...
No, he definitely caused more problems. If all he had to do was... I feel like... Obviously, I've never had a job like that. I think he did the wrong thing. I don't think he should have done that. It seems ridiculous.
I think the reason why I'm sort of okay with it is because it does illustrate Ares' point at the end that, like, everybody, all the humans are bad. Both sides are complicit in this war, and so they're all bad, and they all need to be destroyed. I'm not saying they all need to be destroyed, but, like, I think that was one of the good things about having it be World War I versus World War II, because it's too easy if it's World War II to be like, well, the Nazis are bad and everybody else is good, and like it's there's more moral ambiguity, I guess, in World War I, where it's like, well, who was right? I mean, isn't everybody just fighting for themselves? And I mean, can you ever say that there's ever one right or wrong side in any war? Like, obviously people say that, but part of Diana's understanding and Ares' point was, no, it's always bad to be killing a bunch of other people and justifying it however you want. And so I kind of like that Steve, in the very beginning, like, shows that he's not above it. He's, shooting people up and dropping bombs and taking risks and being like, well, I'm the good guy. Like, he says that as soon as he's on the beach. Those are the bad guys. I'm the good guy. Like, are you, Steve? Are you really?
I mean, he may have been saying that under duress.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying.
Needed to clarify quickly. Please don't shoot me.
But it fits with the theme. I mean, it's different from most other superhero movies in that way, too. That Diana's really like, no, I'm here for humanity. And in the end, she's saying, like, well, I used to want to, like, save everybody and end the wars, and now I realize that there's always going to be darkness inside humanity's light, and it's always going to be there, and I can't defeat it. They have to choose for themselves, and I'm just going to help as much as I can, to help point the way to the light or whatever. I don't remember exactly how she phrased it, but it's like, it's complicated, but it feels so much more true to me of, like, how the world is than just someone... I mean, isn't that, like, one of the problems Superman or someone has who's like, I want to do only good, but what does that mean? And people are complicated, and how does that work in the real world? And one of the things that I really liked when she's fighting Ludendorff, he shoots her, and she, like, blocks it with her wrist thingy, and it goes straight back into his gun and, like, explodes his gun.
Oh.
I mean, it's just, like, a little cool moment, but I was, like, thinking that it would be, like, a really great gif next time somebody, like, on Twitter, like, claps back especially hard, and they're like, I did like the lasso of truth. It was pretty handy when she's in the third act, and Ares is like, you're really Zeus's daughter. She's like, no, you're lying. He's like, no, I'm not. You have a lasso of truth. You can verify this really quickly, and then we can go on with the battle. It's like a major
I love it when
revelation.
Steve Trevor puts it on himself.
Yeah.
And you can tell he's like a little bit of pain, but he's like, see, okay, you're listening, now take it off.
When he's saying that they are going to go to the front, she's like, you just told them that we weren't. He's like, I'll prove it to you. Then he puts it on, he's like, I'm taking you to the front. We're probably going to die. This is a really bad idea. Overshares from what he meant to, but it was great. There were a lot of great lines. They're saying that the sequel is going to be set in modern day, which I'm excited for, but I'm also a little bit sad because it means there won't be any Etta Candy, and I just think we could have used a lot more of her.
Oh, yeah. Maybe when they release the Blu-ray, there will be a bunch of special features, and like a lot of them will just include her being
sassy
and awesome.
I feel like, I don't know if we said this yet, but Gal Gadot has a really great performance all throughout this. I mean, she's the best part. She's definitely the best part. And she's amazing. I love her.
I didn't know what to expect from her. I hadn't seen her in anything. I liked her too. I was really interested to know if like the accent they had was just like her accent, and then they were just like continuing to use it. So I was watching an interview of her today, and it wasn't. And so I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Oh, is it not her natural accent?
It didn't sound the same at all to what this interview I watched today, but maybe she was trying to sound more like she was speaking standard American English in this interview.
Maybe.
Or standard American accent, rather, in this interview.
She's Israeli.
She is.
I guess I thought it was her real accent, but maybe it's not.
I was curious about that, and also, like, we were talking about Amanda Stenberg, our last one. Aggressively cute face. Just like, yeah, look at my face.
Even though I have all these complaints about it not being feminist enough or something, like, I feel like it was really good. And it could have been, like, really skeevy and, like, it's Wonder Woman, look at her, she's fine. But it was like, she moved with so much power. Like, in all of her, in her fight scenes, it wasn't like, oh, look at her skin. It was like, look at her muscles, and she's kicking them, and she's, really determined, and it was great. It was great.
All that she was trained to be, and all that she realized herself as. And
part of the good thing about it is that I didn't think about that as much. I wasn't super aware while I was watching it of like whether it was male gazy or not, because it felt like it was a story about a superhero and not.
There were a lot of body shots that were just clearly. It's important that you see a whole body shot, so you see what this person's doing. No, but I'm saying that it was done without it.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Because I feel like typically like they're like maybe like from a certain angle, so you like are emphasizing hips or like height or things like this. Like there wasn't, to my memory, a lot of stuff like that. It was more just like straight on.
And I read an article which sorry, I don't remember where it was from, so I can't give proper credit. But
say BuzzFeed. Say Breitbart.
No, that definitely wasn't it. It was talking about the visuals of the film, and it kept using like the word like painterly, and like how in the beginning when Hippolyta is telling her about the history of the Themyscira, and there's like a painting that is like sort of animated while she's telling it. And it was talking about how it later scenes sort of use that type of imagery of like Renaissance paintings with like Diana being the central figure. And I don't remember what all they were except for towards the end after she defeats Ares and there's all the orange smoke in the background, but then there's like her in the middle and she's like standing and she's like standing up still like, yes, I just won a battle and I won and I'm still standing. And then there's all these soldiers around her on the sides that are like
they should be dead.
Kind of collapsing or hugging each other.
They should be dead.
One of them like falls to his knees like he's like, well, I'm overcome by whatever, but it like looks visually like he's like bowing to her because she's in the center.
Oh.
And it's like this paint. I mean, it's not a painting, but it like
has
looks
that like theme.
Yeah. You Google that article, okay? It was really interesting and
Google
insightful.
painterly and see if it comes up.
I
feel like not a lot of people are going to be using that word.
I read it in between watching the first and second time, and the second time I like noticed some of those shots that are just sort of like Diana is a hero. And we're telling it visually. It's amazing. I love it.
The more you're saying this, I was like, I really should watch this again.
Yeah. This is my most recommended so far of all the things that we've reviewed, though. I don't remember everything that we've talked about, like what other movies we've all done off the top of my head, but I know I like this one the most and everyone should see it.
Girl!
I just thought that it was inspiring. Like, the note that it ends on is really practical, and nothing is in a vacuum, okay? Like, I'm watching this like a week after Hillary Clinton gave the speech at her alma mater. It wasn't really related to this, but it reminded me of things that she said in her concession speech, where she was like, never like think that it's not worth it to fight for what's right, even if you lose. Like, it's still worth it. And I felt like that tied in with this movie, and for me personally at least, and especially with the way that it ended with, okay, I realize now that a lot of humanity is like deeply flawed and there will always be evil in the hearts of some people, but there will also always be some people who are trying to do good, and I'm going to help them. And I can be one of those people. But Diana, what the hell? I can be on her side. I can be, like, I can do my part. We can all do our part.
Yes.
I think that's really inspiring and great.
I also wanted to say that you're seeing your enthusiasm reminded me of a tweet I saw. Can you tell how much time I've been spending on Twitter, like the past 24 hours? And someone in all caps was like, no wonder men are so, like, just doing stuff all the time. I just saw Wonder Woman, and all I want to do is just, like,
I feel like I can
oh my God,
punch 1,000,
so funny.
Fight 1,000 men barehanded or something.
Yes.
I think I retweeted that one.
Oh, okay.
Or
Cool.
maybe I just hearted it. Anyway, I saw it multiple times, and it was a great tweet, and I loved it.
Cool. Well, yeah. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
I love you, Diana.